सर्वलोकानां विषये भवरोगिणां निधये सर्वविद्यानां श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। ओं नमो भगवते विराजेश्वराय। हरि ओं। ಸರ್ವರಿಗೂ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರಗಳು. Prostrating at the lotus feet of our Brahmanishta Shrotriya Sadguru, our Gurudeva, Sri Virajeshwara Saraswati, and the entire Guru Parampara, on behalf of all of us, today's discourse being commenced with Mangalacharana Shlokas. Hari Om. Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha. Om Shri Mahasaraswatyai Namaha. Sadashiva Samarambham Shri Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Pariyantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Shruti Smruti Purananamayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavatpadam Shankaram Lokashankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Krutau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Sarva Vedanta Siddhanta Gocharam Tamagocharam Govindam Paramanandam Sadgurum Pranadosmiham. Om Namo Bhagavate Virajeshwaraya. Hari Om. Before we start today's discourse, by the grace of our Gurudeva, some few related questions of the last week's discourse have come here to me personally. So in the beginning, those one or two questions I will try to give answer as much as possible, and then we can commence. ಕೆಲವು ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಗಳು ಹೋದ ವಾರದ ವಿವೇಕ ಚೂಡಾಮಣಿಯ ಪ್ರವಚನದ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಬಂದಿರೋದ್ರಿಂದ ಕೆಲವು ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಗಳಿಗೆ ತಿಳಿದಷ್ಟು ಮಟ್ಟಿಗೆ ಸಮಾಧಾನಕರ ಉತ್ತರಗಳನ್ನು ಕೊಟ್ಟು ಇವತ್ತಿನ ಪ್ರವಚನ ಪ್ರಾರಂಭ ಮಾಡೋಣ. ಸರ್ವರಿಗೂ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರಗಳು. ಮೊದಲನೇ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ, ಮಾನವ ಜನ್ಮ ಶ್ರೇಷ್ಠ, ಮಾನವನಾಗಿ ಹುಟ್ಟಿದ ನಂತರವೇ ಮೋಕ್ಷಕ್ಕೆ ಆತ ಅರ್ಹನಾಗ್ತಾನೆ. ಬೇರೆ ಪ್ರಾಣಿ ಪಕ್ಷಿ ಜಂತು ಕ್ರಿಮಿಕೀಟಗಳು ದೇವತಾದಿಗಳಿಗೂ ಸಹ ಸಿಗದೇ ಇರತಕ್ಕಂತಹ ಸೌಭಾಗ್ಯ ಮಾನವ ಜನ್ಮಕ್ಕೆ ಮಾತ್ರ ಇದೆ ಅಂತ ಆಚಾರ್ಯರು ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. ರಾಮಾಯಣದಲ್ಲಿ, ಉತ್ತರ ರಾಮಾಯಣದಲ್ಲಿ ಶ್ರೀ ರಾಮಚಂದ್ರ ಮಹಾಪ್ರಭು ಸಾಕ್ಷಾತ್ ಭಗವಂತ ತನ್ನ ಅವತಾರ ಸಮಾಪ್ತಿ ಸಮಯದಲ್ಲಿ ಸರಯೂ ನದಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಪ್ರವೇಶ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ತನ್ನ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಬಂದ ಎಷ್ಟೋ ಜನ ಅಯೋಧ್ಯ ಪ್ರಜೆಗಳನ್ನು, ಪಕ್ಷಿಗಳನ್ನು, ಪಶುಗಳನ್ನು ಕರೆದುಕೊಂಡು ಹೋಗ್ತಾನೆ ಅಂತಿದೆಯಲ್ಲ, ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಪ್ರಾಣಿ ಪಕ್ಷಿಗಳಿಗೆ ಹಾಗಾದ್ರೆ ಆ ರೀತಿ ಮೋಕ್ಷ ಸಿದ್ಧಿ ಆಯ್ತಾ ಅನ್ನೋದು ಒಂದು ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಉತ್ತರ ಬಹಳ ಸುಲಭ. ಸ್ವಯಂ ಕರ್ಮಾಧ್ಯಕ್ಷನೋ, ಸಗುಣ ಬ್ರಹ್ಮನೋ, ಅವತಾರ ಪುರುಷನೋ, ಕಾರ್ಯಬ್ರಹ್ಮ, ಪರಮಾತ್ಮ ಸ್ವರೂಪಿಯಾಗಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂತಹ ಆ ಭಗವಂತ, ಆತನದೇ ನಿಯಮಗಳಿರಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಆತ ಎಲ್ಲ ನಿಯಮಗಳು ಅತೀತ. ಆದ್ದರಿಂದ ಭಗವಂತ ಕರುಣೆ ತೋರಿದರೆ ಏನು ಬೇಕಾದ್ರೂ ಆಗಬಹುದು ಅನ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಆ ಪ್ರಾಣಿ ಪಕ್ಷಿಗಳಿಗೂ ಮುಕ್ತಿಯನ್ನು ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕರುಣಿಸ್ತಾರೆ. ದಯಾಮಯ, ದಯಾಶೀಲ ಭಗವಂತ. ಇಷ್ಟೇ ಉತ್ತರ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ. ಎರಡನೇ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ ಬಂದಿದ್ದು ಬಹಳ ಬಹಳ ಮುಖ್ಯವಾದ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ. ಎಲ್ಲ ಮಹಾತ್ಮರು ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ, ಅಂತ್ಯಕಾಲದಲ್ಲಿ ಭಗವಂತನ ಸ್ಮರಣೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಮನಸ್ಸಿಗೆ, ನಾಲಿಗೆಗೆ ಬಂದರೆ, ಪ್ರಾಣ ಹೋಗೋ ಸಮಯದಲ್ಲಿ ಭಗವನ್ನಾಮ ಸ್ಮರಣೆ ಇದ್ದರೆ ಮೋಕ್ಷ ಪ್ರಾಪ್ತಿ. ಹಾಗಾದ್ರೆ ನಾವು ವೈಯಕ್ತಿಕವಾಗಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಮರಣ ಕಾಲದಲ್ಲಿ ಆ ಭಗವಂತನ ಹೆಸರು ನಮಗೆ ಬರಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ನಾವು ಯಾವ ರೀತಿ ಸಾಧನೆ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು? ಎರಡನೇ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ. ಮೂರನೇದು, ಈ ಮೋಕ್ಷವನ್ನ ಹೊಂದಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಬ್ರಹ್ಮಜ್ಞಾನ ಅತಿ ಅವಶ್ಯಕವೇ? ಬ್ರಹ್ಮಜ್ಞಾನ ಇಲ್ಲದೆ ಮೋಕ್ಷ ಇಲ್ಲವೇ ಅನ್ನೋ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ. ಈ ಎರಡು ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಗಳಿಗೆ ಬಹಳ ಚುಟುಕಾಗಿ ಉತ್ತರ ಏನು ಅಂದ್ರೆ, ಯಾವುದು ಮೊದಲಿಂದಲೂ ನಾವು ಅಭ್ಯಾಸ ಮಾಡಿಲ್ವೋ ಕೊನೆಗಾಲದಲ್ಲಿ ಬರೋದು ಖಂಡಿತ ಸಾಧ್ಯ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಅದರಲ್ಲೂ ಮರಣ ಕಾಲದಲ್ಲಿ ಮರಣ ಭಯ ಇರೋದ್ರಿಂದ, ಎಲ್ಲ ರೀತಿ ಇತರೆ ಯೋಚನೆಗಳು ಬರೋದ್ರಿಂದ ಮನುಷ್ಯನಿಗೆ ಭಗವಂತನ ಹೆಸರು ಬರಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಸಾಧ್ಯವೇ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಆದ್ರಿಂದ ಮಹಾತ್ಮರು ಏನ್ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ, ನಮ್ಮ ಗುರುಗಳು ಸೇರಿ, ನೀವು ಈಗಲಿಂದಲೇ ನಾಮ ಜಪವನ್ನು ಮಾಡಿ ಭಗವಂತನ ನಾಮವನ್ನು ಸ್ಮರಣೆ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇರಿ. ಸಾವು ನಾಳೆ ಬರುತ್ತಾ, ಇವತ್ತು ಬರುತ್ತಾ, 1 ವರ್ಷ ಆದ್ಮೇಲೆ ಬರುತ್ತಾ, 10 ವರ್ಷ ಆದ್ಮೇಲೆ ಯಾರಿಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿದೆ. ನೀವು ಈ ಸಾಧನೆಯನ್ನ, ನೀವು ಪ್ರಯತ್ನವನ್ನ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ 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 ಮನಸ್ಸು ಅದರೊಳಗೆ ಒಗ್ಗು ಬಿಟ್ರೆ, ಭಗವಂತನ ಕರುಣೆ ಇದ್ದರೆ ಆತನ ಒಂದು ವರಪ್ರಸಾದದಿಂದ ನಿಮಗೆ ಸಾಯೋ ಸಮಯದಲ್ಲಿ ಆತನ ನೆನಪು ಬರೋಕ್ಕೆ ಸಾಧ್ಯ. ಈಗಲಿಂದನೇ ನೀವು ಶುರು ಮಾಡಿ ಅಂತ ಎಲ್ಲ ಮಹಾತ್ಮರು ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. ಮೋಕ್ಷಕ್ಕೆ ಬ್ರಹ್ಮಜ್ಞಾನ ಅತಿ ಅವಶ್ಯಕವೇ ಅಂದರೆ ಉಪನಿಷತ್ತುಗಳು ಹೇಳಿದೆ. ಜ್ಞಾನಾದೇವ ಕೈವಲ್ಯಂ. ಆಚಾರ್ಯ ಶಂಕರರು ತಮ್ಮ ಎಲ್ಲ ಭಾಷ್ಯಗಳಲ್ಲಿ, ಬ್ರಹ್ಮಸೂತ್ರ ಭಾಷ್ಯಗಳಲ್ಲಿ, ಭಗವದ್ಗೀತಾ ಭಾಷ್ಯಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಉಪನಿಷತ್ತಲ್ಲಿರೋದನ್ನ ಬಹಳ ಯುಕ್ತವಾಗಿ ವಿವೇಚನೆ ಮಾಡಿಬಿಟ್ಟು ಘಂಟಾಘೋಷವಾಗಿ ಹೇಳಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಏನ್ ಹೇಳಿದ್ದಾರೆ? ನಮ್ಮ ಭಾರತೀಯ ವೇದಾಂತದಲ್ಲಿ, ಅದ್ವೈತ ಸಿದ್ಧಾಂತದಲ್ಲಿ ಮೋಕ್ಷ ಪ್ರಾಪ್ತಿಗೆ ಜ್ಞಾನವೇ ಹೇತು, ಜ್ಞಾನವಿಲ್ಲದೆ ಮೋಕ್ಷವಿಲ್ಲ. ಅದು ಸ್ವಯಂ ಪ್ರಮಾಣ ಉಪನಿಷತ್ತುಗಳಿಂದ ಬಂದಿರತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಸಿದ್ಧಾಂತ. ಖಂಡಿತ ಬೇಕು. ಜ್ಞಾನ ಕೊನೆ ಘಟ್ಟದಲ್ಲಿ ಉತ್ಪತ್ತಿಯಾದಾಗ ಮೋಕ್ಷ ಪ್ರಾಪ್ತಿ, ಕೈವಲ್ಯ ಪ್ರಾಪ್ತಿ. Now the 3 questions raised last time. The first question is very relevant. In Uttara Ramayana, it is mentioned that when Bhagavan, Avatari Purusha, Ramachandra Prabhu, wanted to complete his avatara of Ramavatara, he entered into the river Saryu in Ayodhya. Along with him, he called so many people of Ayodhya, including the animals and birds also went with him. But when it is said that only human birth is important for emancipation or kaivalya or salvation, moksha, how is it those animals and birds also took to liberation? That was the question. The answer is very simple yet profound. I'm just briefly touching all these things. When Lord himself, Sri Ramachandra Prabhu, in his avatara as a Saguna Brahma, Sakara Brahma, he himself is Ishvara in name and form. He himself is Karmadhyaksha. When he bestows the grace, anything can happen because he is the Lord himself. No rules are there applicable to him. So that is what is called compassion of Ramavatara. Yes, it happened. Second question was, all Mahatmans say that only if you remember the name of the God at the last moment of the death, that is during the last breath of your death, if you can remember God's name, 100%, 1000% guaranteed that you will enter into Kaivalya. No more rebirth, Janma Rahitya Sthiti. You will be liberated here, now itself. Then what guarantee is there that I will remember the God's name at the last breath during my journey in this life? So what is to be done for that? So no guarantee, yes. Because our Gurudev also was vehemently talking about this. All Mahatmans have said, unless we practice from today itself, nothing is late. Let us practice Nama Japa, taking name of the Lord of our Ishtadevata right from today. Any time. There is no time limit. There are no rules and regulations. There is nothing like Shaucha, Ashaucha. While walking, sitting, doing our work, whatever it is, while relaxing, we can always remember the name of the Lord. We can do a Nama Japa. If I start today itself, that becomes a habit, and that habit will remain in our subconscious mind, and then Lord himself will be so kind enough in our during last days that he himself will help us to remember his name. See, that is a very important secret message all Mahatmans are given. Especially Gondavalekar Maharaj from Gondavale near Satara, Maharashtra state, has 100 times he has vehemently mentioned this point. You take the name of the Rama, Rama will protect you. You take his name earnestly, even if you are in the coma condition in ICU, in your last days, I will be there to see that your mind always remembers Lord Rama. That's what he has promised Gundavalekar Maharaj. So that is the answer. We have to do, start from today. Without practice, we will never remember. Please take it from me. That is what all Mahatmans have said. Third question was, for liberation from the bondage of samsara, for kaivalya or for moksha prapti, is Brahmajnana is very, very essential? That is the question. Yes, the answer is yes. Upanishads have said vehemently on this repeatedly. Acharya Shankara Bhagavad-pada has mentioned in all his bhashyas repeatedly the same point, that only by the attainment of jnana, kaivalya prapti is there, moksha prapti is there. With all our other knowledge, with all our other activities, with everything, if the jnana doesn't dawn in our mind, that means if we don't reconnect ourselves to the source, we have now disconnected ourselves. We have identified that I am the body. I have never identified that I am not the body. So that disconnection should be cut and we should reconnect. Who am I? If that awareness dawns, that is jnana. Perfectly. All doubts are cleared automatically. All secrets will be revealed in our mind by the God's grace. Then only kaivalya prapti. So jnana is essential for moksha. So these are the three things I wanted to say. There is one small point here connected. In Bhagavad Gita also Lord has mentioned very clearly, very, very clearly, that if you remember, he tells Arjuna, if you remember me, means Lord, at the time of death, at the time of the last breath of your body, undoubtedly, without doubt, you will reach me only. Lord has promised in Bhagavad Gita. Antakale cha mameva smaran muktva kalevaram. Antakale cha mameva smaran muktva kalevaram. Samadbhavam yati nastatra samshayaha. He has made it very clear. You remember me at the last breath of your body before your death. I am there to take you into my fold. But the question is, how many will remember? This mysterious question has no answer. Nobody can answer because you will experience death only once by yourself in this birth. Then nobody can watch for you what you are thinking at that moment. Only you know yourself. Whether you are in a coma condition, whether you are in a semi-coma condition, nowadays it is so well known. Our Gurudev was laughingly telling sometimes, look, majority in the present Kali Yuga, in these years of 21st century, they die lonely in the ICU with all the tubes inserted into their mouth, into the trachea, and they can't even speak, they can't even breathe. God knows what they'll be thinking. Nobody knows. That is why it is a mysterious question. So Lord says, if you remember me at the last moment, I am there to take you into my fold. See, that is a very important. We come to the present Viveka Chudamani shlokas of today's discourse. We start with the 12th shloka today. Samyak vicharatah siddha rajju tattvavadharana bhrantyodita mahasarpa bhaya dukka vinashini. Samyak vicharatah siddha rajju tattvavadharana bhrantyodita mahasarpa ಭಯ ದುಃಖ ವಿನಾಶಿನಿ. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಆಚಾರ್ಯರು ವೇದಾಂತದ ಮೂಲ ಸಿದ್ಧಾಂತದ ಒಂದು ಪರಿಕಲ್ಪನೆಯನ್ನ ಬಹಳ ಚುಟುಕಾಗಿ ಒಂದು ಶ್ಲೋಕದಲ್ಲಿ ಹೇಳಿಬಿಟ್ರು. ಏನು? ಇಲ್ಲಿ ರಜ್ಜು ಸರ್ಪ ನ್ಯಾಯದ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಆಚಾರ್ಯರು ಮಾತಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ ಚುಟುಕಾಗಿ. ಮುಂದೆ ಬರುತ್ತೆ, ಮುಂದೆ ವಿಶದವಾಗಿ ಬಂದಾಗ ತಗೋಣ. ಈಗ ಅಷ್ಟರ ಮಟ್ಟಿಗೆ ಹೇಳಬೇಕು ಅಂದ್ರೆ, ರಜ್ಜು ಸರ್ಪ ನ್ಯಾಯ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ನಸುಗತ್ಲಲ್ಲಿ ಸಾಯಂಕಾಲ ಬೆಳಕಿಲ್ಲದೆ ಇರೋ ಸಮಯ ಹೆಚ್ಚು, ನಾವು ರಸ್ತೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಹೋಗ್ಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಅಥವಾ ಮನೆ ಎದುರಿಗೆ ರಸ್ತೆನಲ್ಲಿ ಹೀಗೆ ನೋಡಿದಾಗ ದೂರದಲ್ಲಿ ನಮಗೆ ಹಾವು ರಸ್ತೆಲಿದೆ ಅಂತ ಕಾಣುತ್ತೆ. ಭಯ, ಅಯ್ಯೋ ಹಾವಿದೆಯಲ್ಲ ಅಲ್ಲಿ. ಎಂಥ ಭಯ ಬರುತ್ತೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ, ಕೊನೆಗೆ ಧೈರ್ಯದಿಂದ ಹತ್ತಿರ ಹೋಗಿ ನಾವು ನಮ್ಮ ಬೆಳಕಿನ ಸಹಾಯದಿಂದ, ಟಾರ್ಚ್ ಸಹಾಯದಿಂದ, ಹೆದರಿಕೆಯಿಂದ ಹತ್ತಿರ ಹೋಗಿ ನೋಡಿದಾಗ ಮಾತ್ರ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗತ್ತೆ ಅದು ಹಾವಲ್ಲ, ಹಗ್ಗ. ಇದು ರಜ್ಜು ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಹಗ್ಗ, ಸರ್ಪ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಹಾವು. ನಾವು ಭ್ರಾಂತಿಯಿಂದ ಯಾವುದನ್ನ ಹಾವು ಅಂತ ತಿಳ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ವೋ ಅದು ನಿಜವಾಗ್ಲೂ ಹಾವಲ್ಲ, ಹಗ್ಗ ಅಂತ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗೋದು ಯಾವಾಗ? ಮನಸ್ಸಿಗೆ ಶಾಂತಿ, ನೆಮ್ಮದಿ, ಹತ್ತಿರ ಹೋಗಿ ಪರೀಕ್ಷೆ ಮಾಡಿದಾಗ. ಇದು ರಜ್ಜು ಸರ್ಪ ನ್ಯಾಯ. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಆಚಾರ್ಯರು ಏನ್ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ, ವೇದಾಂತದ ಈ ಮೂಲಭೂತ ವಾಕ್ಯ ಏನಿದೆ ಇದು ನೆನಪಲ್ಲಿರ್ಬೇಕು. ಇದುವರೆಗೂ ನಾವೇನು ಸಂಸಾರ ಅಂತ ತಿಳ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದೇವೆ, ಪ್ರಪಂಚ ಅಂತ ತಿಳ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದೇವೆ, ನಾನು ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಇಂಥವನು, ನಾನು ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಇಂಥವಳು, ಇವರು ನನ್ನವರು, ಇವರು ಬೇರೆಯವರು, ನನ್ನ ಫ್ಯಾಮಿಲಿ, ನನ್ನ ಸಂಸಾರ, ಹೀಗೆಲ್ಲ ತಿಳ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದೇವಲ್ಲ, ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ಭ್ರಾಂತಿಯಿಂದ ಬಂದಿರತಕ್ಕಂಥ. ಈ ಭ್ರಾಂತಿ ತೊಲಗದಾಗ ನಿಜ ಸ್ವರೂಪ ನಾನು ಯಾರು ಅಂತ ಅರ್ಥ ಆದಾಗ, ಇರೋದು ಒಂದೇ ವಸ್ತು, ಇರೋದು ಒಂದೇ ಪರಮ ಚೈತನ್ಯ ಒಳಗಡೆ ಇರೋದು, ಅದು ಸತ್ಯ, ಎಲ್ಲ ಕಾಲಕ್ಕೂ ಇರುವಂತ ಸತ್ಯ. ಅದು ಉಳಿದಿದ್ದೆಲ್ಲ ಮಿಥ್ಯ ಅಂತ ತಲೆಗೆ ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಆವಾಗ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಹೆದರಿಕೆ, ಸಂಶಯ, ಸಂಸಾರ ಭ್ರಾಂತಿ ಎಲ್ಲವೂ ಹೊರಟೋಗುತ್ತೆ, ಸಂಶಯಗಳು ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ, ಮನಸ್ಸು ನಿರಾಳವಾಗ್ಬಿಡುತ್ತೆ, ನೀವು ಜ್ಞಾನಕ್ಕೆ ಅಧಿಕಾರಿಯಾಗ್ಬಿಡ್ತೀರಿ ಅಂತ. ಅದು ವೇದಾಂತದ ಒಂದು ಸುಂದರವಾದಂಥ ಕಲ್ಪನೆ, ರಜ್ಜು ಸರ್ಪ ನ್ಯಾಯ. ಅದನ್ನು ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ನಿಮ್ಮ ಸಂಸಾರದ ಸಮಸ್ತ ದುಃಖಗಳನ್ನ ಹೋಗಲಾಡಿಸ್ಬೇಕು ಅಂದ್ರೆ ನೀವು ಸಂಸಾರ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಏನು ಅಂತ ಅರ್ಥ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಬೇಕು, ನೀವು ಯಾರು ಅಂತ ತಿಳ್ಕೊಳ್ಬೇಕು. ನಿಜವಾದ ನೀವು ಯಾರು? ಮೇಲ್ನೋಟದ ನಾನು ಬೇರೆ, ನಿಜವಾದ ನಾನು ಬೇರೆ, ಇದು ತಿಳ್ಕೊಳ್ಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಅದನ್ನು ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ ಶ್ಲೋಕದಲ್ಲಿ. ಇನ್ ದಿಸ್ ಶ್ಲೋಕ, ಸಮ್ಯಗ್ ವಿಚಾರತಃ ಸಿದ್ಧ ರಜ್ಜು ತತ್ವಾವಧಾರಣ ಭ್ರಾಂತ್ಯೋದಿತ ಮಹಾಸರ್ಪ ಭಯ ದುಃಖ ವಿನಾಶಿನಿ. This example in Vedanta is so famous. Acharya has quoted in number of times this snake rope example. Rajju Sarpa Nyaya. Rajju means rope, Sarpa means snake. So this example, please remember, always it will be quoted here and there by Acharya. In all his bhashyas are there. In Sutra Bhashya it is there. In Bhagavad Gita Bhashya it is there. In Upanishad Bhashyas he has quoted. It is a famous sutra. Famous Nyaya as it is called. Very simple to understand but difficult to experience. When in a distance with the light fading, dim light, when you're walking, suddenly you will spot a snake on the road and you become so afraid and you believe that it is a snake, and your whole attitude, behavior totally changes. So much of frightful you become. It may going to bite you. Then once somebody prods you, somebody guides you, with little hesitation, with the fear still in the mind, you go nearer and nearer, one step, and then you switch on a torch light to make sure, and then when you go very near, then you will understand the snake is not at all moving. You become more courageous and then go near. Then you will know by close examination, it is not a snake, it is only a rope. So you become very relaxed. See, till that time, the mind was fully, it had believed that it is a snake. Once it is understood by you only that it is not a snake, that is jnana. Then you are relaxed. Oh, it is only a rope. I mistook it for a snake. This example in Vedanta means, see, we are all in this life, in this world, in this worldly life, be thinking that I am so and so, you are so and so, my family members, the other members, my friends, my enemies, the whole world, we are doing and living and making money, enjoying everything is there. We believe this is real. Because the house I am living in tomorrow, same house is there. The husband I am seeing today, the same husband is there tomorrow. The children, they are there tomorrow. So they are all real. You can touch them, you can feel them, you can talk to them, you can enjoy with them, you can quarrel with them. Everything appears real. So we are deluded, Vedanta says, Acharya says, thinking that this is real, samsara is real, world is real. But once the reality dawns, jnana dawns by the grace of the Guru, Sadguru, what happens? Then you will know this whole thing is just a mirage, just a magic. It is there today, tomorrow it will go away. Nothing is permanent. Nobody is permanent. Whomever I think they are my dearer ones, they will die today or tomorrow. They will vanish. Why? Including myself. I will die tomorrow. Who knows? So, what is real? Real cannot remain changed all the time. It remains static. It remains permanent. So, what is that reality? So, I am not this body then, because now I am born, now I am little middle-aged, I am a youth, I am a man, I am a woman, I become an old person, old Buddha, and then one fine day I will die in ICU. There ends the matter. So is it really me? So when such contemplation, reflection starts in the mind, that is reasoning, that is viveka. That happens with the grace of Sadguru. Sadguru and God are one and the same. Then by the grace of God, intuition sprouts because of constant discriminatory thinking, constant manana, constant contemplation, and finally, ultimately, by the grace of Guru or God, the jnana will dawn. Then you will know, I am not the body. I am ever existing, eternally present, omniscient Parama Chaitanya. There is no birth or death for this Chaitanya, and really I am that Chaitanya, not this body. The body is carrying a name given by the parents. His body is now 73-year-old. People call this body Nagaraj Padki. Fine. Our Gurudev was telling once how a jnani lives in the samsara. Though he knows it is mithya, it is a maya, but still, remember, jnanis live in the samsara itself. How? They live, they know the reality, they know the truth, and they are totally detached from their inner psyche. Mentally, they are not at all attached to anything in life. They know it is a transient phase. So they just behave like a big actor. They laugh at you, they scold at you, they talk to you humorously, or sometimes they give upadesha, sometimes they silently sit without talking. They may become angry. All these dramas, as we observe, it is from the standpoint of the viewer, not from the point of the jnani. This is it. So, once you know it is a rope, not a snake, what happens? You come out of this samsara bondage. That is the point here in this shloka. Samyak vicharatah siddha rajju tattva avadharana bhrantyodita mahasarpa bhaya dukkha vinashini. So, the reality of the rope, will put an end to the misery of the samsara you are facing through. Last time it was told, samsara means nothing but misery, nothing but grief in real sense. Till the death occurs to the body, for some reason or the other, mind is always agitated, mind is always worried, mind always grieves, mind always weeps. It is ultimately not at all happy. It is not at all at peace. See, pleasure is different. Inner peace is different, sir. Pleasure, as you said, as Mahatmans have said, pleasure is when you get things you wanted in life, you become joyous. That is a pleasure. It is temporary. But the inner peace, tranquility remains all the time, in all the time, in all the three avasthas, they remain same, no change. Once your mind is stabilized and stilled, you become a great actor. Inside your mind, nothing happens. Outside, you react, you behave in this world and do your duty very sincerely because your mind is stabilized, totally still. You are at peace, that is jnana. Ultimately, the real peace, that is jnana. Never you are distracted from the locus of that reality. You will observe, you become aware who you are really. Nothing will distract you at all in life. But for others, you behave in the same way as you behaved earlier. There is no change. A Brahmajnani will not have any special feathers or a halo around the head to declare that I am a Jnani. He is as you and me. He is as good appears to you or bad appears to you. No change. So that is the point here. Remember. अर्थस्य निश्चयो दृष्टो विचारेण हितोक्तितः न स्नानेन न दानेन प्राणायामशतेन वा. Acharya is making further clear the same point. Very interesting point. He says, Arthasya nishchayo drushto vicharena hitoktitah na snanena na danena pranayama shatena va. This is very interesting point. Acharya is telling. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಏನು ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ ಆಚಾರ್ಯರು ಅಂದ್ರೆ ನ ಸ್ನಾನೇನ ನ ದಾನೇನ ನ ಪ್ರಾಣಾಯಾಮೇನ. ನೋಡಪ್ಪ, ನೀವು ಎಷ್ಟು ದಾನವನ್ನಾರು ಮಾಡಿ ಬಡಬಗ್ಗರಿಗೆ, ತೊಂದರೆಯಲ್ಲಿರೋರಿಗೆ, ಸಂಕಷ್ಟದಲ್ಲಿರೋರಿಗೆ ನೀವು ದಾನವನ್ನು ಎಷ್ಟಾದರೂ ಮಾಡಿ, ದಿನಾ 3 ಹೊತ್ತು ಸ್ನಾನವನ್ನೂ ಮಾಡಿ ಪರವಾಗಿಲ್ಲ, ಪ್ರಾಣಾಯಾಮವನ್ನು ದಿನವೂ ನೀವು ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರು ಪರವಾಗಿಲ್ಲ, ಅದರಿಂದ ಜ್ಞಾನ ಬರೋಲ್ಲ. ಯಾಕೆ? ಅರ್ಥಸ್ಯ ನಿಶ್ಚಯ ದೃಷ್ಟೋ ವಿಚಾರೇಣ ಹಿತೋಕ್ತಿತಃ. ಸಮ್ಯಕ್ ವಿಚಾರ, ಆತ್ಮಜ್ಞಾನ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಸ್ವಂತ ಅನುಭವದಲ್ಲಿ ಬರಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ನೀವು ವಿವೇಕದಿಂದ, ಆಚಾರ್ಯರ ಹಿತೋಕ್ತಿಗಳಿಂದ, ನಿಮ್ಮಲ್ಲಿ ನೀವು ಶ್ರದ್ಧೆಯಿಂದ ಮನನ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ, ಆಚಾರ್ಯರ ಉಪದೇಶವನ್ನು ಅರ್ಥ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ತಾ, ಆಚಾರ್ಯರು ಹೇಳಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ, ಗುರುಗಳು ಹೇಳಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಸರಿಯಾಗಿ ನೀವು ಆಚರಣೆ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರೆ ನಿಮಗೆ ಆ ತತ್ವಜ್ಞಾನದ ಅರ್ಥ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗತ್ತೆ. ಕೇವಲ ಸ್ನಾನ ಮಾಡೋದ್ರಿಂದ, ಸ್ನಾನ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಬರೀ ಸ್ನಾನ ಅಷ್ಟೇ ಅಲ್ಲ, ದೇವರ ಪೂಜೆ, ದೇವಸ್ಥಾನಗಳಿಗೆ ಹೋಗೋದು, ಮನೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಸ್ನಾನ ಮಾಡಿ ಗಂಟೆಗಟ್ಟಲೆ ಪೂಜೆ ಮಾಡೋದು, ಹಾಗೆ ದಾನ ಮಾಡೋದ್ರಿಂದ, ಪ್ರತಿನಿತ್ಯ ದಾನ, ಪ್ರತಿ ತಿಂಗಳು ದಾನ ಬಡವರಿಗೆ, ಬಗ್ಗರಿಗೆ, ಮತ್ತು ಪ್ರಾಣಾಯಾಮ, ಹಠಯೋಗದಲ್ಲಿ ನಾನು ಪ್ರಾಣಾಯಾಮ ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ ಸರ್, ಕಲ್ತಿದ್ದೀನಿ, ಹೀಗೆ ಮಾಡೋದ್ರಿಂದ ಜ್ಞಾನ ಬರೋಲ್ಲಪ್ಪ. ದಟ್ಸ್ ವಾಟ್ ಹಿ ಹಿಂಟ್ಸ್ ಹಿಯರ್. ಇನ್ ದಿಸ್ ಶ್ಲೋಕ ಹಿ ಸೇಸ್ ನ ಸ್ನಾನೇನ ನ ದಾನೇನ ನ ಪ್ರಾಣಾಯಾಮ ಶತೇನ ಚ. Look, by whatever means of cleansing your body, snana means cleansing, shower, bath, bathing, literal sense. The inner sense is snana. Cleansing means Not only by cleansing your body by the water, even cleansing your mind to prepare yourself for worshipping every day, doing puja in the home or in the temple. So that also means snana. So by that alone, na danena, by charity, by helping others, by giving money to others, by giving in cash or kind, things required for others who are in distress, who are really poor, helping them, philanthropy, dana, or by pranayama. I have learned pranayama. I want to practice pranayama. I want to learn hatha yoga. So with determination, with mental determination, whether you are qualified or not, see the point. You may learn pranayama. We are, Acharya is talking here pranayama, not the pranayama breathing exercises shown in the yoga classes throughout India. It is not that. Acharya is telling about the pranayama, that is yogic pranayama. An expert guru can teach his disciple privately. It is a one-to-one basis pranayama, not the yoga classes where teacher is there, some 10, 50, 20 students, hundreds sit and then they start doing pranayama. It is not that. It is yogic pranayama he is talking. Even with that, he says, nothing will happen. Nothing will happen, he says, unless Guru teaches you. He gives the upadesha, hitoktita upadesha, personal upadesha to you, what to do, how to proceed in sadhana. So unless Guru guides you in the sadhana, by all these measures, you will not get the jnana. You will never understand the reality. That is the point here. Now a question will come. Two things are here. If you go through our Indian history alone, spiritual history, there are hundreds of cases. We'll just passing reference, no names. Hundreds of cases where people, sadhakas, have become adept in pranayama, yogic pranayama, and then hatha yoga. So what happens? You develop siddhis. Once you are involved yourself in pranayama, yogic pranayama, siddhis will automatically come. Some miraculous power will enter your body. That is guaranteed. Guaranteed. So with those powers, they are enticing you like a damsel entices you. So they try to delude you by showing their capacity of power in your hand so that you can do miraculous things in life, so that your primary occupation, your thinking about reaching God, realization, is masked by those powers, by those siddhis. So majority will fall a prey to those siddhis, and with the help of the siddhis, they attract masses. Hundreds and thousands become their followers because of the siddhi, because of powers. And they will fall down from their path of sadhana because they become demigod, godmen in their own way. Very unfortunate thing. Our Gurudev was talking. All Mahatmas. Remember, all Mahatmas, they never show their miraculous powers publicly. Out of compassion, once in a way, to help some disciple, automatically the compassion of the Guru turns into a miracle. That is a different issue. But they never publicize. They never publicize. They never say that I have got so many powers. So Acharya is hinting that point here. By that, jnana will not come. Then another question will come. Very interesting, very important, very beautiful, sincere question here. What, sir? Acharya is talking about dana, philanthropy, service, help to the poor, to the needy. Should we not do it? Should we not do upakara to others in life? Question will come in the mind. Yes, because paropakara, that is dana in other sense, helping others, trying to mitigate the suffering of others when I have got some capacity, either in cash or kind. Building some blocks for the sake of their welfare, for their stay, small houses or homes, construction of hospitals, construction of schools. These are all philanthropic. Lending money. Lending money means just giving as a charity. Feeding people, poor people. These are all very, very good philanthropic acts. Should you not do it? Yes. Who says we should not do it? In the beginning of Kali Yuga itself, Vyasa Maharshi, Vedavyasa Maharshi, he is referred in Vedanta as the Prathama Guru of Kali Yuga, Maharshi Vedavyasa. He himself has declared what Vedavyasa Maharshi says. He says, in only half a shloka, in the half charana of a shloka, I'll tell you what is there in thousands and crores of books. The summary I will tell you in only half a shloka, he says. Ardha shlokena pravakshyami yaduktam granthakotibihi. Ardha shlokena pravakshyami yaduktam granthakotibihi. Paropakaraya punyam papaya parapidanam. He says in the last line. What he says? He declares. Maharshi Vedavyasa declares, Paropakaraya punyam. Paropakaraya punyam papaya parapidanam. Helping others, philanthropy, charity, so good. It earns so much punya to the individual. But if you give trouble wantonly, knowingly to others, if you deceive others, that itself is nothing but papa, evil. Helping others is a good deed, virtuous deed. He declares that. Then Acharya, why he is saying, with such a dana, you won't get kaivalya. The reason is simple. By service to the poor, service to humanity, always good. It accrues punya. But the catchword is, to enjoy the effect of the punya, the good deeds, again and again you are reborn. Please remember. If I accrue lot of punya by good deeds now in this birth, if I do lot of philanthropic work, remember in the whole world, there are hundreds of, I bow my head sincerely, hundreds of philanthropists, hundreds of good virtued people who make it a point in their life to do service to the poor, to wipe the tears of the poor people in so many ways. I bow my head sincerely to all of them. But the point here, what Acharya is talking is something else. You earn a lot of punya, no doubt. So to expedite the effect of punya, what you have accumulated in this birth, again you have to be reborn. Again you have to be reborn, rebirth, to exhaust the effect of the punya you have accumulated now. So that is okay. As far as you are in the cycle of birth and death, that is okay. That goes on. On and on it goes on. But look, my dear son, Acharya is so compassionate, he says, if you want to escape from rebirth, if you want to escape from the cycle of birth and death called samsara, if you don't want to be reborn again, if you think that let this be the last birth, I don't want to be born again in some family. Again, let me not go through the same thing. Whole thing repeats in a different scenario. I don't want that. God, put me into your fold. Let me be in your heart only. Let me be at your feet only permanently. If that is the goal, then Acharya says, then only jnana will take you. These things are there, very good. They will not lead to liberation. Dana, snana, pranayama, such activities will not lead to liberation, emancipation, kaivalya. So that is the inner point here. Then he comes to the next point here in next 2-3 shlokas. So, who is the person qualified as a disciple to go near such a great Brahmajnana? See, these things become a little tougher from now onwards. Let us not get disheartened. Remember, Viveka Chudamani was written 1200 years ago, where Acharya was giving discourse to the disciples, who are all well versed, well qualified. So, for the sake of us, now what he says here, ಇನ್ನೆ ಮುಂದೆ ಬರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಶ್ಲೋಕಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಭಗವಂತ ಏನ್ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಆಚಾರ್ಯರು ಏನ್ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ, ಬ್ರಹ್ಮಜ್ಞಾನಕ್ಕೆ ಅಧಿಕಾರಿ ಯಾರು, ಯಾರು ಕೈವಲ್ಯವನ್ನ ಪಡಿಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಅಧಿಕಾರಿಯಾಗಿರ್ತಾರೆ, ಏನ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕು ಅವರು, ಅವರಲ್ಲಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಗುಣಗಳು ಹೇಗಿರಬೇಕು, ಅದರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಇನ್ನೆ ಮುಂದೆ ಬರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ 3-4 ಶ್ಲೋಕಗಳು ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. ಅಧಿಕಾರಿಣಮಾಶಾಸ್ತೆ ಫಲ ಸಿದ್ಧಿರ್ವಿಶೇಷತಃ ಉಪಾಯಾದೇಶ ಕಾಲಾದ್ಯ ಸಂತ್ಯಸ್ಮಿನ್ ಸಹಕಾರಿಣ. ಅಧಿಕಾರಿಣಂ ಆಶಾಸ್ತೆ ಫಲ ಸಿದ್ಧಿರ್ವಿಶೇಷತಃ ಉಪಾಯಾದೇಶ ಕಾಲಾದ್ಯ ಸಂತಿ ಅಸ್ಮಿನ್ ಸಹಕಾರಿಣಃ. So Acharya is very clear here. ಫಲಸಿದ್ಧಿ ವಿಶೇಷತಃ ಆಶಾಸ್ತೆ ಅಧಿಕಾರಿಣಃ he says. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಏನ್ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ ಸ್ಥೂಲವಾಗಿ ಆಚಾರ್ಯರು ಮುಖ್ಯವಾಗಿ ಅಂದ್ರೆ, ನಿಮಗೆ ಬ್ರಹ್ಮಜ್ಞಾನ ಪ್ರಾಪ್ತಿ ಆಗಬೇಕು, ಮೋಕ್ಷವನ್ನ ಹೊಂದಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಇಚ್ಛೆ ಇದ್ದರೆ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ನಿಮ್ಮಲ್ಲಿ ಕೆಲವು ವಿಶೇಷ ಅರ್ಹತೆಗಳಿರ್ಬೇಕಪ್ಪ. ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಸಿಗಲ್ಲವಲ್ಲ, ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಕೇಳಿದ ಕೂಡಲೇ ಸಿಗೋದಿಲ್ವಲ್ಲ ಬ್ರಹ್ಮಜ್ಞಾನ. ನಿಮ್ಮಲ್ಲಿ ಆ ಒಂದು ವಿಶೇಷತೆ ಇದ್ರೆ, ಅರ್ಹತೆ ಇದ್ರೆ ಸಿಗತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಸೊ unless you are really qualified, unless you have certain virtues, unless you have some qualifications, it's not easy for Brahmajnana to obtain Brahmajnana from a Sadguru. He cannot lead you to that. He cannot show the way, because you yourself need to deserve. Our Gurudev used to use this word very often. You must deserve before you desire. Very simple phrase. Our Gurudev used to say this. You must deserve before you desire. You need some basic qualification, right? Without completion of high school education and with a degree there, you are not allowed admission at the college level. Correct? To enter into a college level at career, you had to have finished your high school degrees, right? Like that. So he says certain qualifications. You should be a proper adhikari. In Vedanta, please remember, adhikari word doesn't mean officer, IAS, IPS or government official, big, not that. In Vedanta, Sanskritam Shabda adhikari means a person who is qualified to do sadhana. Please remember again, adhikari means person qualified to do sadhana, and what are his qualifications? Vedanta says there are mainly 3 types of adhikaris to take up sadhana, spiritual sadhana. 3 ತರಹದ ಅಧಿಕಾರಿಗಳಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ಅರ್ಹತೆ ಉಳ್ಳವರು ಆಧ್ಯಾತ್ಮ ಸಾಧನೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಮುಂದುವರಿಬೇಕು ಅಂದ್ರೆ 3 ತರ ಇದ್ದಾರಪ್ಪ ಅಧಿಕಾರಿಗಳು. ಒಂದು ಉತ್ತಮ ಅಧಿಕಾರಿ, ಎರಡನೇದು ಮಧ್ಯದಲ್ಲಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಕೆಳಮಟ್ಟದ್ದು ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಮಧ್ಯಮ ಅಧಿಕಾರಿ, ಕೊನೆಯದು ಮಂದ ಅಧಿಕಾರಿ. ಉತ್ತಮ, ಮಧ್ಯಮ, ಮಂದ. ಉತ್ತಮ ಅಧಿಕಾರಿ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಆತನಲ್ಲಿ ಎಲ್ಲ ಅರ್ಹತೆಗಳು ಹುಟ್ಟಿದಾಗಿಂದ ಸಂಸ್ಕಾರದಲ್ಲಿ ಬಂದ್ಬಿಟ್ಟಿದೆ. ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಹೇಳಬೇಕಾಗಿಲ್ಲ, ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಅವ ಸಾಧನೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಬಹಳ ಬೇಗ ಮುಂದುವರಿತಾನೆ, ಗುರುಪದೇಶದಲ್ಲಿ ಬಹಳ ಬೇಗ ಮುಂದೆ ಹೋಗ್ತಾನೆ. ಮಧ್ಯಮ ಅಧಿಕಾರಿ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ನಾವು 50-60% ಲೆವೆಲ್ ಮಾರ್ಕ್ಸ್ ಅಂತೀವಲ್ಲ ಹಾಗೆ. ಒಂದೇ ಸಲ ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗಲ್ಲ, ಆತನ ತಿಳುವಳಿಕೆ ಅಷ್ಟು ಕಡಿಮೆ ಇರೋದ್ರಿಂದ 2-3 ಸಲ 4 ಸಲ ಅವನಿಗೆ ಹೇಳ್ಬೇಕಾಗ್ತದೆ. ಗುರುಗಳು ಬಹಳ ಶ್ರದ್ಧೆಯಿಂದ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. ಅವನು ಮಧ್ಯಮ ಅಧಿಕಾರಿ. ಕೊನೆಯವನು ಮಂದ ಅಧಿಕಾರಿ. ಮಂದ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ತುಂಬಾ ಕೆಳಮಟ್ಟದಲ್ಲಿ ಆತನ ವಿವೇಕ, ಆತನ ತಿಳುವಳಿಕೆ ಕೆಳಮಟ್ಟದಲ್ಲಿ ಇರೋದ್ರಿಂದ ಆತನಿಗೆ ಮತ್ತೆ 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 ಕೂಡಿಸ್ಕೊಂಡು ಗುರುಗಳು ಉಪದೇಶ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು. ಅತಿ ಪ್ರೀತಿಯಿಂದ ಕರುಣೆಯಿಂದ ಗುರುಗಳು ಆತನನ್ನ ದೃಷ್ಟಿಸಿ ಈತನಿಗೆ ತಿಳುವಳಿಕೆ ಕಡಿಮೆ ಇದೆ ಸಾಧನೆ ಮಾರ್ಗದಲ್ಲಿ ಅಂತ ತಿಳ್ಕೊಂಡು ಆತನಿಗೆ ಯಾವ ರೀತಿ ಹೇಳಬೇಕು ಆ ರೀತಿ ಮಾತ್ರ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಅವನು ಮುಂದುವರಿತಾನೆ. ವ್ಯತ್ಯಾಸ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಒಬ್ರು ಮುಂದೆ ಒಬ್ರು ಹಿಂದೆ. ಬಟ್ ರಿಮೆಂಬರ್, 3 ಜನ ಅಧಿಕಾರಿಗಳೇ, 3 ಜನಕ್ಕೂ ಗುರು ಅನುಗ್ರಹ ಸಿಕ್ಕೇ ಸಿಗುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ದ 3 types of adhikaris, Vedanta is very clear. Uttam adhikari with all the samskaras of previous birth. He is so much endowed with viveka, thinking process, reasoning, reflection, manana. Immediately he follows Guru's teachings and then strives himself in that line of spirituality. Immediately he grasps, very intelligent, above 90%. Madhyama adhikari, little in between. His reasoning, viveka, thinking, reflection, manana capacity is slightly lower. So he requires little more extra upadesha from the same Guru. Guru is compassionate. He will look after them. He takes little more time to reach the goal. Maybe in this birth or next coming births. There is Manda Adhikari, third one, the lowest, with still little brain capacity, as we call colloquially, but here with the discriminative power, almost is lacking because of the samskaras of the previous births only. So Guru will take special care of such people. She will advise them in a special way which is not meant for others. But Guru is so compassionate, he will look after him also. Even that Manda Adhikari, say 35%, 40% level marks, still he is eligible. Still he is eligible. So, one repeated question had come to me. Sir, we don't know anything about Vedanta. We don't know anything. We are almost in a period of darkness. We don't know where to go. We don't know how to proceed, but we are interested in sadhana. We are interested to reach God. Sir, what to do? See, this question is there from all earnest seekers throughout the world. Throughout the world. People are actually waiting to find a way to meet their Guru. They are so eagerly waiting because their mind is so interested, sincere, they are not finding the way out. Those who have found the way out by the grace of Guru, they are really chosen. They are really, what we can say, graced by the Guru. Even then, remember, 90% of the population, they are not interested. Our Gurudev was talking once to me on this. Yes, look, Vedanta says there are 3 types of adhikaris, all are looked after by the Guru. Uttama, Madhyama, Manda adhikari. Fine. I will tell you there is one 4th category, he said. There is a 4th category. I was surprised. With folded hands, I was waiting for him to continue. Then, after a gap of few seconds, he said, the 4th adhikari is anadhikari, he said. He is totally not at all qualified. So the 4th one is called disqualified disciple. Disqualified person. He meant jokingly, but the fact, majority are disqualified. We can't help, nobody can help. Sometime later in the future births, there is a possibility they may turn towards God. But please remember, with folded hands, I once again bow down to all my Guru Bandhus, exalted souls, noble souls, sadhakas, who have already reached the pinnacle, who are yet to reach the pinnacle. With sincere pranams, I bow my head, because we are all chosen in this path of spirituality by the grace of Almighty, by the grace of the Lord, by the grace of the Guru. So we should feel highly elevated. Whether, I don't know, I am a Manda Adhikari or a Madhyama Adhikari or Uttama Adhikari, let us not discuss on those things at all. Let the mind should not go into that. All that is important is, I am interested in my sadhana. That is a prime goal. I am interested to come out of the rat race of birth and death, birth and death, birth and death. No amount of money, no amount of power, wealth, popularity, celebrity status, Vedic scholarship will help us to be liberated. It is only the Guru's grace and our sincere sadhana, our efforts initially put very correctly, going by the words of the Guru, that will lead us. And then God will take care later. The Guru will take care later. So you offer yourself completely, surrender yourself completely. What happens? Your mind becomes calm and quiet. Prashantamana, still mind. See, these words are again words. Until you experience that calmness inside, until you become a great actor outside, you are not here for any publicity, right? You are not here to be recognized by others that you are a great Brahmajnani, correct? What is that to do with you? Everywhere you will see yourself only. So, keeping quiet with total serene, calm mind. And outside, you do your duty as a husband, do your duty as a wife, do your duty as a son, do your duty as a daughter, do your duty as an engineer, lawyer, doctor, whatnot, whatnot, whatnot. But that should not delude your mind. Always remember, you are not that. What you appear outside, you are not that. You are Parama Chaitanya, Sakshi Bhuta, Ekam eva advitiyam. That should be there in the mind. Next shloka, again he says the same thing. Ato vicharah kartavyo jijnasoratmavastunah samasadya daya sindhum gurum brahma viduttamam. Daya sindhum brahma viduttamam gurum samasadya. Acharya says, ಬ್ರಹ್ಮಜ್ಞಾನಿಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಶ್ರೇಷ್ಠನಾಗಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥವನು ದಯೆ ಕರುಣೆಯಿಂದ ಕೂಡಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂತಹ ಆ ಬ್ರಹ್ಮವಿದನಾಗಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂತಹ ಗುರುವ ಹತ್ತಿರ ಹೋಗಿ, ಸಮಾಸಾಧ್ಯ ಅಂತಹ ಗುರುವಿನ ಹತ್ತಿರ ಹೋಗಿ, ಅಥೋ ವಿಚಾರ ಕರ್ತವ್ಯ ಜಿಜ್ಞಾಸೋ ಆತ್ಮವಸ್ತುನಃ, ಅಂತಹ ಗುರುವಿನ ಹತ್ತಿರ ಹೋಗಿ ಆತ್ಮತತ್ವದ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ವಿಚಾರ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು, ಗುರು ಹೇಳಿದ್ದನ್ನು ಕೇಳಬೇಕು ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ. So the shloka is so simple. So once you become a qualified disciple, a qualified shishya or a devotee of a great Sadguru, go near such a Sadguru who is a Daya Sindhu, ocean of mercy. He is an ocean of compassion, ocean of divine love. Words will fail here to explain what he is. Go to such a Guru who is merciful, compassionate, with a divine love pouring, and be with him. He will impart the jnana to you. That is the meaning of the shloka. Ato vichara kartavyo jijnasoratma vastunah samasadya daya sindhum gurum brahma viduttamam. Then Acharya says, then how you should conduct yourself as a disciple or a shishya or devotee. He gives some of the characters to be present in us before going to the Guru. ಮುಂದಿನ ಶ್ಲೋಕದಲ್ಲಿ ಆಚಾರ್ಯ ಏನ್ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ, ಗುರುವಿನ ಹತ್ರ ಹೋಗ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ನಮ್ದೊಂದು ಏನು ಅರ್ಹತೆ ಇರಬೇಕು, ಅಧಿಕಾರ ಆಯ್ತಲ್ಲ. ಅದೇ ಒಂದು ಅರ್ಹತೆ ಇರಬೇಕಲ್ಲ, ಯೋಗ್ಯತೆ ಇರಬೇಕು. ಅದೇನು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಮೇಧಾವಿ ಪುರುಷೋ ವಿದ್ವಾನ್ ಊಹಾಪೋಹ ವಿಚಕ್ಷಣ ಅಧಿಕಾರಿ ಆತ್ಮವಿದ್ಯೆಯಾಂ ಉಕ್ತ ಲಕ್ಷಣ ಲಕ್ಷಿತಃ. ಮೇಧಾವಿ ಪುರುಷೋ ವಿದ್ವಾನ್ ಊಹಾಪೋಹ ವಿಚಕ್ಷಣಃ ಅಧಿಕಾರಿ ಆತ್ಮವಿದ್ಯಾಯಾಂ ಉಕ್ತ ಲಕ್ಷಣ ಲಕ್ಷಿತಃ. So the devotee or the disciple who wants to do the sadhana, who is sincere, how he should be? Medhavi vidwan uvapoha vichakshanaha. ಆತನಲ್ಲಿ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ವಿದ್ವತ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಇದು ಓದು ಅಲ್ಲ. ಮೇಧಾವಿ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಅರ್ಥ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಒಂದು ಚತುರತೆ, ಗುರು ಹೇಳಿದಂತಹ ಉಪದೇಶವನ್ನ ಅರ್ಥ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳುವಂಥ ಚತುರತೆ ಮೇಧಾವಿತನ. ಊಹಾಪೋಹ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಮನಸ್ಸಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಮನನ ಮಾಡೋದು, ಇದು ಸರಿಯಾ ಇದು ತಪ್ಪ, ಗುರುಗಳು ಇದು ಹೇಳಿದರೆ ಇದು ಸರಿಯಾ ಅದು ಸರಿಯಾ, ಈ ರೀತಿ ಮನನ ಮಾಡೋದು ಇದೆಯಲ್ಲ ಊಹಾಪೋಹ. ಊಹ ಮತ್ತು ಅಪೋಹ, ಊಹಾಪೋಹ. ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಬುದ್ಧಿವಂತನಾದಂಥವನು, ಅಧಿಕಾರಿಯಾದಂಥವನು, ಈ ಎಲ್ಲ ಲಕ್ಷಣಗಳಿಂದ ಕೂಡಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥವನು ಗುರುವಿನ ಬಳಿ ಹೋಗಬೇಕು. ಸೊ ದಿ ಶ್ಲೋಕ ಇಸ್ ವೆರಿ ಕ್ಲಿಯರ್. Acharya is talking about the disciple. See, person who is really intelligent, who is having discriminative power to know what is good, what is correct, what is not correct, and who can understand what Guru says clearly without any doubt. See, sometimes I sit in a class, 1 hour the teacher teaches some lesson. If I am not attentive, if I am not really interested, I will never understand what he has spoken at all, 1 hour. But if I am interested, and also if I am endowed with a quality to understand, immediately I will understand what the teacher is talking. It will enter into my brain. Simple. Same thing. Medhavi, ಊಹಾಪೋಹ ವಿಚಕ್ಷಣಃ ಅಧಿಕಾರಿ ಆತ್ಮವಿದ್ಯಾಂ ಉಕ್ತ ಲಕ್ಷಣಃ ಅಧಿಕಾರಿ. So with such qualifications, he becomes a deserving candidate for Atmavidya, Brahmajnana. Such a person becomes deserving candidate. Next shloka also same thing he explains about the disciple or shishya or devotee, how he should be. A devotee or a disciple going to the Guru for sadhana, spiritual sadhana, how he should be. Vivekino viraktasya shamadi gunashalinah. Vivekino viraktasya shamadi gunashalinah. Mumukshoreva hi brahma jijnasa yogyata mata. He should be viveki, he should be virakta, he should be endowed with the 6 set of qualifications starting from Shama, and he should be a mumukshu. And such a person, he becomes a fit person for Brahma Jijnasa, a fit person for Atma Jnana, a fit person for Atma Vichara. ವಿವೇಕಿಯೂ ವಿರಕ್ತನೂ ಮತ್ತು ಶಮ ದಮ ಇತ್ಯಾದಿ ಗುಣಗಳಿಂದ ಕೂಡಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂತಹ ಆ ಮುಮುಕ್ಷು ಅಂಥವನಿಗೆ ಮಾತ್ರ ಬ್ರಹ್ಮ ವಿಚಾರವನ್ನ ಮಾಡೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಅರ್ಹತೆ ಇರುತ್ತಪ್ಪ ಅಂತ ಆಚಾರ್ಯರು ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಗುರುವಿನ ಹತ್ರ ಹೋಗಿ ನಾನು ಸುಮ್ಮನೆ ಕೂತ್ಕೊಳ್ತೀನಿ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಆಗೋದಿಲ್ವಲ್ಲ. ನಮ್ಮಲ್ಲಿ ಕೆಲವು ಅರ್ಹತೆಗಳಿರ್ಬೇಕಲ್ಲ. ವಿ ನೀಡ್ ಟು ಪೊಸೆಸ್ ಸಮ್ ಕ್ವಾಲಿಟೀಸ್. Brahmajnana is not something available so easily, correct? I remember one anecdote written in the official biography approved by Shirdi Sainath Maharaj himself. Approved. In the Sai Sat Charitra, written in Marathi, translated into so many languages. That authentic biography of Shirdi Sainath, Shirdi place in Maharashtra. There one point comes in. One big businessman, a tycoon, rich fellow from Bombay at that time, he heard that there is a Muslim fakir in a small village Shirdi near Kopargaon. not far away from Mumbai, and he is a great jnani and he will impart jnana to all. He, being a businessman and a very calculative person, he runs taking a train to Kopargaon. From Kopargaon, nearly another some 10, 15 kilometers, he must take a Tonga at that time. This is beginning of this 20th century we are talking. So he took a Tonga, that is a what we call as a horse-drawn cart, and reaches the Shirdi Dwarkamai where Sainath used to sit. People were around him sitting. Then he comes suddenly in front of everybody because he's a big man, moneyed man with all that ahankara, ego. He suddenly folds his hand and tells Sainath Maharaj, I came to know that you are a great jnani and you will impart Brahmajnana. Please give me Brahmajnana. I have got my next train I must catch in Kopargaon. I have to go back to Kopargaon and then to Bombay. Give me urgently. Everybody was laughing in their mind, looking at this fellow, such a person who is unfit for anything, thinking that he can buy Brahmajnana also. Sainath didn't say anything there. He didn't even look at him. He asked somebody else in his devotees group for some 2 or 3 rupees. At that time, it was very heavy amount. Give me 2 or 3 rupees, I had to buy this and go and buy this for me. That fellow never had 2 or 3 rupees in his pocket. Poor people. He points out another fellow. Even that fellow never had money. So he goes on asking each one. Nobody had money in their pocket. They pleaded, Bhagwan, I don't have money. Otherwise, I would have given. This gentleman from Mumbai, a businessman, was standing there only, looking into all these things. He was wondering, I am standing here asking for Brahmajnana. He is not even bothered to look at me, talk to me. He was already agitated in the mind. You know how the ego works? How the ego works? Unless you lose your ego, jnana will never dawn in the life. Then Sainath turns to him and says, look, you are seeing that I'm asking money from each of the devotees sitting here. Unfortunately, they don't have the money. Otherwise, they would have given to me. But you, who has come from Brahmajnana, you have come here, you have got so much money in your pocket. It tells us the exact figure. Out of that, this 2 or 3 rupees, you had no conscious mind to give it to me. But on the contrary, you want Brahmajnana from me. Then he understands. He falls at his feet. I did a mistake, he says. Then with compassionate tone, Sainath tells him, okay, stay here. No, I have to go back. The train is there. I have to catch the train near Kopargaon, Shirdi to Kopargaon, some 20 kilometers. I have to again go by Tonga. He said, you stay back here today, don't go. Still he rushes. That gentleman, businessman, rushes back, taking a Tonga, horse-driven cart. In the midway, accident happens. The Tonga will crash down. His legs are broken, this businessman. Then he was hospitalized for the next 7 to 8 days near Kopargaon itself. This is anecdote. The point is, we need to possess some qualifications. That's what Acharya says here. See, with proper reasoning, discrimination, virakta. Virakta means, see, dispassion, non-attachment. See, it becomes very difficult. Virakta doesn't be, in the year 2020 AD, we should remember one thing. We are all householders. Yes. We are not sannyasis. Yes. How can I be virakta? Only sannyasis can become virakta. So some guilt will come into the mind here. Virakta means give up your attachment to worldly pleasures as much as possible. It may not happen in one day. You start from today. God will help. The Guru will help. You will come to know the falsity of all these pleasures, which are temporary and transient in our life. Ultimately, you find real Brahmananda is there, seeking divine recourse to the God himself. It happens later. Take it from me. So, a disciple should be viveki, virakta, And he should be endowed with the 6 sets of qualifications: Shama, Dama, Uparati, Titiksha, Shraddha, Samadhana. He should be endowed with that. And then he should be mumukshu, burning desire to know, burning desire to know the reality, burning desire to know who I am. That is mumukshutva jiññāsatva. These qualifications you should possess. That's what he says. Then again the question will come into our mind here. Do we really have all the qualifications? No, Baba, we have no qualifications, as Acharya says. So this sadhana is not for us. This field is not for us. Please don't get disheartened. Don't get disheartened. The answer is there for that. With Guru Sankalpa, today we are stopping here. You can unmute later after the bhajan, short bhajan. Hari. Sri Rama Jaya Rama Jaya Jaya Rama. 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 Sri Rama Rama Jaya Jaya Rama. Sri Rama Jaya 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 Rama Jaya Jaya Rama. Hari Om Tat Sat. Om Namo Bhagavate Virabheshwara. So you can unmute if any questions are there. Yes. Today's discourse is completed.
Hari Om, sir. Thank you so much. I have 2 questions, one from both from Ajay ji. First question, I come across many meanings of Gayatri Mantra. I read it as Gayatri Mantra. I have not come across any meaning of Rama Japa so far. Did Gurudev reveal meaning of Sri Rama Jaya Rama? Typically, mantras begin with Om, like Om Namah Shivaya. However, this mantra starts with Shri. What could be the reason? I have read chanting mantra with meaning is more efficacious than mechanical repetition. Hence the question.
Hari Om, sir. Thank you. Wonderful question. Whatever I have learned from Gurudev, I'll be telling of this. There are 2 aspects. The basic secret meaning of a mantra. And most of the mantras start with the primordial pranava, Parabrahma Vachaka pranava, Om. But here it starts with the Shri. So what is that significance? Shri. Number 1, the word Shri, I will take up later exhaustively. It is there in Viveka Chudamani. There it will be explained as explained by Sri Chandrasekhara Bharati Mahaswamigal of Jagadguru of Sringeri. While writing commentary on Viveka Chudamani, he explains beautifully about the significance of the word Shri. That is that. Then as far as coming to Rama Mantra, it is called Taraka Mantra by some. It is called as Mahataraka Mantra by some. And if you happen to have read biography of Sridhara Swami, Bhagavan Sri of Varadalli near Karnataka Sagar, who in turn was direct disciple of Swami Samartha Ramadas. There in his biography and some of the pravachanas have also been included, I know. There he explains the significance of this Taraka Mantra, Ramanama. That is one thing. Because here the time constraint is there for me. So I'm giving a short reply. Later, if you need a long reply, even that can be arranged either through WhatsApp or whatever it is. But here I'm concising myself to a short reply. Now the short reply was the significance of it. You remember, there are a number of Upanishads. Important 10 ones, most of us we know. At least we have heard through. Now the present day, the so-called advent of the technology, Google is there, and please remember, whatever comes in Google may not be correct, but some points are really correct. Everything will come out there. Out of the 10 is okay, but there are nearly 148 Upanishads. Some are not visible in the printed form. They are in the old way of writing in the papyrus, in the dried, parched leaves. They are jealously guarded in present day mutts. Most of them have vanished because of the
Manuscript.
manuscripts have vanished because of foreigner invasion right from 10th century, 12th century, 13th century, 14th century, how Takshashila was destroyed in the present day Balochistan, a famous Sanatana Dharma Gurukula with a grand library. How Nalanda Vishwavidyalaya was destroyed. In fact, the chroniclers who have written on the Nalanda, they say that nearly to heat up the water for bathing for the soldiers, 3 months, all the books were thrown into the fire. So we have lost innumerable manuscripts, wealth. But even then, there is a small Upanishad, sir, Rama Rahasya Upanishad, Rama Rahasya Upanishad as it is called. There it is mentioned. The significance of word Rama, that much I can tell you now. The Ra, first letter, Ma, second letter. Both are Bija mantras, Bija Aksharas they are called. They are called Bija Akshara, means Gupta Bija Akshara. They contain so much cosmic force and energy. The Ra, first letter comes from the Mahamantra. Om Namo Narayanaya. Narayanaya, in that Ra is there. If you remove the Ra, Bija Mantra, Nayanaya, it has no meaning at all. Nayanaya. The Ra provides the entire meaning, the Shakti of the Hari, Vishnu. The Vishnu Shakti is totally immersed in the letter Ra. You take another Mahamantra. This people, Vishnu Paramya, those who are Vaishnavites, they only worship Lord Narayana. Those Shaivites worship only Shiva as the Supreme Lord. Okay. So you take Namah Shivaya. In that Namah Shivaya Mahamantra, it is another mantra. Mahamantra. Ma is there. You remove the Ma, it becomes Nah Shivaya. Nah Shivaya. Nah Shivaya. No Shiva. Ma carries a significant, potent force, spiritual Shakti of Shiva himself. It's called Hara. Shiva is called Hara, Hara Shakti. Narayana, Ra is called Hari, Hari Shakti. So, both the Shaktis in the form of the Bija Aksharas, Ra and Ma, joined together to form Rama. So, Rama, actually the word denotes Supreme Parabrahman, both in Sakara and Nirakara Tattva. Rama does not simply, please I repeat, Rama does not simply mean human avatara born Ayodhya for the parents Dasharatha and Kausalya. It is not just simply that, it is beyond that. It is Supreme Almighty, Supreme Sakara Brahma, Nirakara Brahma, both. So that is the significance of Rama Shabda. So once you utter Rama, all these things will come. All these things will come. When Dasharatha asked the Vasishtha Maharshi to name the child, the first child, knowing all these intricate esoteric meanings, Vasishtha names the first child as Rama. I think that will, right now that will cover, sir, the point.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I'm not very good at all as I'm not a, first of all, I'm a Alpajna. I'm not a Sarvajna. Whatever I know, I will tell you. If I don't know, I will say I don't know at all.
We are
Right.
we are in the class, as you said. Nobody knows who is the Manda, who is the Madhyama. who's the-
Only the God knows. But we are all blessed because we are adhikaris. That is the important point.
That's the greatest blessing.
If you and me were anadhikaris, you and me would not have sit here at all,
That's true, sir.
discussing, enjoying life, adventure, fun, frolic, weekend party, weekend going driving out as in America, 100-mile drive, go to a beach, enjoy. That anybody would do it.
True. Sir, there is one more question from Ajay ji. He asks, is it sufficient to do only japa or nitya karma like sandhya also should be done?
See, our Gurudev has answered this point number of times to people here in Ansoni. I can summarize just what he said. See, there are steps, he says, sopana krama, stepwise ladder to climb to the top. To climb, you have to start with the first step, next step, next step, next. So ladder, stepwise ladder. In sadhana also, he said sopana krama. Some are in the beginning steps, some are in the middle steps already climbed, some are almost reaching the top, nearing the top. So different levels people are climbing the ladder of spirituality. So according to their previous birth samskaras and the environment they are born, how they have been molded in the childhood, both will play a role. Their impressions of the previous life and the way they are born in their childhood in the house, that environment. So what happens? Some become more orthodoxic, some become more religious minded. Fine, no problem at all. If you want to do nitya karmas like regular puja, regular worship, regular sandhya vandana, absolutely no problem at all. No problem at all. That will help to inculcate more and more sattva guna. See, it will radiate more sattva guna in my psyche or mind. It will subdue my tamoguna and rajoguna. So it is required. So Vedanta says all these nitya naimittika karmas without desiring anything, please remember, it helps us to evolve spiritually. Helps us to evolve spiritually. Chitta Shuddhi. Our mind becomes purer and purer, clearer and clearer. It can be done. On the contrary, if you go a little higher up in the ladder, Sopanakrama, what happens? You, not that you intend to stop intentionally, automatically it falls off. Automatically. You will not do all these things. Not that you are superior, not that you know something. It simply falls off from your mind. I'll give you my own example, sir. I think that will make very clear to Ajay ji or whoever is listening. My own example, because my experience is the best experience I can share with you. I don't know what Kailas Simha ji is doing. I don't know his mind. At least I know my mind, right? Sir, I was not at all religious in my life, first of all, though being as a Brahmin. Just 1 minute, some shloka, whatever my grandmother had told me in childhood, I used to chant and go. Not at all religious. Please remember, I am a Brahmin by birth. Sandhya Vandana, nobody taught me. I never bothered. I never did Sandhya Vandana in my life, being a born Brahmin. Later, before I met the Guru, I met my Guru in 95, sir, 1995. But before that, somehow in the early 90s, the thought came here. God knows how and when and why. So I learned Sandhya Vandana. Earnestly started doing it, knowing the significance of that, morning and evening. I read all the relevant books on Sandhya Vandana, huge volumes. So I can say a little bit that I know the importance of Sandhya Vandana. So I'm not good at Sandhya Vandanam. I'm not good at shlokas. I started doing it sincerely, including Gayatri Japa. Then what happened? After meeting the Guru, Sadguru, in 95, then almost by 98, 99 in the year, nearing 2000 AD, automatically again it dropped off, sir. Sandhya Vandana dropped itself. Gayatri Japa dropped itself. Everything dropped. My Guru never said anything. He knows everything. He never said anything. Because in 98, I was given Mantra Diksha. That also I never asked. Guru only gave it. Without my knowledge, he called me and put his hand on the head. Take this mantra. No rituals, no formalities. Offhandedly he gave. Okay. It started off. Then something happened inside. So I cut out of only that. That is everything. That is everything comes under that. Whole thing comes under that. Finish. Whole thing comes under that. Now I am not at all bothered. No guilt feeling or guilty consciousness that I am not doing this, I am not doing nothing. Everything is his own. There is nothing like mine, no desire. So absolutely I am clear. At the same time, last point, I have seen our Gurudev advising, giving Upadesha to some people. I am a witness to it, that you should do Sandhya Vandana. You should do Gayatri Japa. You do Gayatri Japa at least 100 times, morning, 100 times, evening. He has said like that to some people. I am a witness to it. So I don't know how to place all these things. So I don't know whether I have made myself clear for the question. Anything?
Good. Thank you.
Yes.
Ajay ji.
Thank you. Sir, there is one more question from Gautam ji, Pradeep Arvind Joshi ji.
Yeah, I am seeing Joshi.
So
He is so fond of our Gurudev. I have seen him tremendously, sincerely involved in sadhana, sir. He never even talks. Only here we are talking, I think. In person, we have never talked at all. In front of Gurudev in the ashram, he never talked with anybody there. He also knows, I also know. Okay, sir. Joshi ji.
It's a great fortune that he's asking these questions here, at least for me. He asks, is dana not a step towards self-cleaning, towards cultivating sattva? Because you brought
Yes.
the topic up during.
Yes. Yes. It will increase the sattva guna. 100% right, sir. It will help to increase sattva guna. 100% correct. But ultimately, you have to become gunatita. That comes in Vivek Chudamani when we deal with Panchakoshas. There, you have to transcend even Anandamaya Kosha. You have to transcend not only Annamaya, Pranamaya, Manomaya, Vijnanamaya, even Ananda, bliss as we call. Even you have to transcend that. Anandamaya Kosha happens when the Sattva Guna is predominant in your mind. Even that you have to transcend, and you go beyond that. Then only you become Gunatita. So it increases Sattva Guna. It won't give you Kaivalya.
Thank you, sir. Beautifully explained.
Thank you. Hari Om, sir. Hari Om. Hey, once again, my pranams to all. Thank you. Om Namo Bhagavate Virajeshwaraya. We can stop, sir.
Yes.